funny thing about a confirmation bias is that you've already, in your mind, decided the outcome. You're just looking for confirmation. Even if there's two conflicting bits of evidence, you'll just pick the bit that you want, discard the other bit, and say, look, there you go. Told you so. I knew it was going to be like that. And in sort of trying to second-guess David Moyes' confirmation bias, sort of realised that I've had one as well. And my one goes a little bit like this. At some point during the World Cup, Lucas Paqueta will have a good game. I think we've just seen it. When he has that good game, because I've already decided that Lucas Paqueta is a central midfielder. For all the reasons that I gave, if you saw my first video that I did when Brazil had their opening game in the World Cup, I said, look, he's playing in central midfield. He's playing in Souček's position. There are always four guys in front of him for him to pass to. So I thought that was quite clear. He was a central midfielder. But my confirmation bias was, at some point, David Moyes will see this. He will realise the error of his ways. David Moyes will say, there you go. I was wrong all along. Here is the answer to my midfield problems. He's not an attacking midfielder. He is, in fact, a central midfielder. And that's how it went. And I thought, when D-Day comes, which is now, when this day comes, Lucas Paqueta against South Korea, well, it's Brazil against South Korea, but you get what I'm saying. He will finally demonstrate it. And then David Moyes will say, yes, that's it. He's a central midfielder for me. I'll have to find somebody else for attacking midfield. Maybe we'll put Ben Rama there. Maybe Lanzini goes there. Maybe Fornals goes, whatever. He'll find something else to do because he'll decide Paqueta's his man. And I was quite cocksure of myself. But then the more I looked into it, I thought, well, actually, David Moyes has probably got his own way of looking at it. Because I think David Moyes has decided that Lucas Paqueta's a number 10. Basically, he wants Lucas, if in Brazil terms, he wants Lucas Paqueta to play in Neymar's position. And that's what I perceive to be the problem. And I was sort of thinking that David Moyes might see the error of his ways. I don't think he will. And the real bit that I think really hammered the nail in the coffin was the goal. Now, before that, obviously, Paqueta had been involved in, I think it was the first goal, in the build-up play to the first goal. There was another really, really lovely sort of, it was like a reverse pass. He gave him the eyes, looked that way, passed that way. Really nice pass. And then I realised, actually, some of Paqueta's best work was in the box or just outside the box. Now, I was looking at it thinking he's made a late run. That's how he scored his goal, made a late run. No, and I thought, actually, Moyes not going to see it this way. Moyes has already got his idea, so what's Moyes' confirmation bias? David Moyes is going to watch it and think, I told you. I told you he was a number 10. I told you he was the guy to play just behind the striker. Look how effective he was. He can score goals, tick. He can operate in and around the D, play the final ball, tick. Not that it matters that actually so can Brazil's central defenders. But this is my point. I think you'll just see what you want to see. And if David Moyes has already decided in his mind that Lucas Paqueta is a central attacking midfielder, if you want, or a number 10, then we can just forget it. We're just looking at the positions he was taking up, and I double-checked it. I said to my sons, my son was looking forward to watching a game. We watched the game together, and I said to him, he doesn't watch, you can't blame him, he doesn't watch my videos. I've not really overly discussed it with him, and so he doesn't know. And I said, who do you think, whose position at West Ham do you think Paqueta's playing? And he was looking at it, and in the end, he said Declan Rice. I said, well, no, not really. I said, because actually, if you're lining up in a two in midfield, Declan Rice almost plays on left side central midfield. Souček plays right side central midfield. He said, you're right. He said, playing in Souček's position. I said, yeah. So that's what it appears to be to me. Now you might say, that's more advanced. He plays more advanced than Souček. Well, only the very recent Souček. Souček was playing that role when he was scoring all the goals. And I couldn't help but look and think, well, this would be great for West Ham if we could just play him in that position. Now, I understand Brazil is totally and utterly different. The control that they had on that game, up until the point where they sort of couldn't be asked anymore, but the control they had on that game was wonderful. And I do understand we don't have players of that ability. Also, Brazil are a possession team, and we're not. Which sort of begs the question, I'm not sure why we bought him in that sense. If what we're going to do is buy a player and play to a completely different style that suits him and play him in a separate position. I made this point before. I'm not going to labour that particular point, which was, it's hard enough moving over to a new country and learning the language and moving into a new house without having to change your position as well. But anyway, I understand that we play in a different way, but I still think probably the best way to get the very most out of Paqueta is to play him in central midfield. Because I do think we've got a problem there. I don't know if you heard Declan Rice's interview. It was all part of the same. I clipped a bit of the press conference out, but that was only to do with him and West Ham and his friends playing Champions League football, so on and so forth, because that was what was relevant to that video. But also during that, he was talking about his role for England, and Declan said, "Yeah, I'm sort of getting used to it. This is not the role that I play with West Ham." If you saw the video, if you saw the full interview, you'd have heard him say those words. I thought, do you know what? He's absolutely right. Moyes has tweaked his position in midfield. And I thought, hold on a second. Well, let's be fair. Moyes has tweaked Souček's position in midfield to the detriment of Thomas Souček. I'm thinking to myself, well, hold on a second. He's now tweaking Paqueta's position, isn't he? And I thought, hold on. Let's get this right. I started thinking, hold on, what else we got? Actually, it's Flynn Downs. Flynn Downs is a central midfielder. He's played really well in the Conference League in central midfield. But on the 2 occasions he started games in the Premier League, he started as attacking midfielder and he started as a right-sided midfielder. I think he might have been slightly on the right against Man United. I might have that slightly wrong, but you get what I'm saying. Then I started thinking back to Mark Noble, not the last season, but the season before. Do you remember when David Moyes had Mark Noble running round in that sort of free role? It wasn't quite a number 10 role. It was some weird sort of role. I don't know, is there a midfielder who David Moyes hasn't changed their position? He loves it. He's addicted to it. And I thought, can we just not? Is it possible? If I could speak to him, Moyes, I wouldn't say Moyes, I'd say David, Mr. Moyes. Is it possible we could not do that? Is it possible we could just let players play to their strengths instead of trying to change them? I'm not saying he's incapable of making players better. He's done it with many. But I think there's many players that David Moyes has made better. I've seen it written quite a few times. David Moyes makes every player worse. I don't think he does. I don't think that's fair. But I think he sometimes tweaks players so much. We're talking about, this season, we've had to tweak Jarrod Bowen's position. But can you not tweak his position anymore? Because last season, he was brilliant. You've tweaked his position. And this season, we'll go with insipid on that one. And I just look and I think, come on. Let's just play to the strengths. All right? Because whilst you might well be able to improve some players, you can actually make some players worse. And surely what you don't want to do is what are you trying to do with a £50 million player? Turn him into a £100 million player? I don't know. Surely when you spend 50 million as West Ham, you get in the finished article. Man City, maybe not. Maybe Man City can pay 50 million for that 22-year-old player who might turn out to be the next Lionel Messi or whatever the case may be. But West Ham, 50 million is your finished article. There literally needs to be, it's a record ever signing. It needs to be the best player we've ever had. And I was a penny for David Moyes' thoughts. And I was watching it with my son. And then later on, I don't go on about it when I'm watching it. I do just watch the game. And my son said to me, what do you think David Moyes is thinking watching this? And that's when the thought came to me. I thought, I reckon David Moyes thinking, yep, there's a good player there. I've spent my money wisely on Paqueta. I'm looking forward to him coming back. Which is right, and so he should. But I don't think he's looked at it and seen the error of his ways, which is what I was hoping. I know I'm not on my own in that. I know a lot of people were hoping David Moyes was going to look at this World Cup and think, yep, got it wrong. He's a central midfielder. Now I know I'm going to unleash him. Declan Rice and Paqueta in central midfield. I don't think he's going to do it. I don't reckon he's watched that match against Korea. He's watched Paqueta popping up and all that stuff. Remember I said about confirmation bias? You'll take the bits that suit what you've already made up your mind. You'll take those bits and you'll discard all the others. So for so much of that match when Paqueta was playing in central midfield and playing really, really well, it'll get discarded. Don't worry about all that stuff. every time he pops up on a D, oh, there it is. I knew it. I knew it. Paqueta played well. David Moyes will see Paqueta plays well. He's just going to see that as validation as to what he's trying to do with him.